Little audio will help. Good morning, brain. This is Brody. Morning coffee and MTG Stocks. Happy to have you with me here on the channel. I made it home after 28 hours of driving. Holy moly, that was a journey. Ice and snow. We lost count at like 20 vehicles in the ditch. And let's just put the volume up just a touch there for you today. Let me know if you can hear me. Loving it, loving it. All right. So just want to do a little bit of morning coffee, MTG stocks, and I have got something for you here. Maybe take a look at some of the. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? All right, we got just doing a little bit of a recap for you folks before we get into it. We're going to do some charts. We're going to look at some prices this morning on Magic cards. I just want to share with you a couple of photos from the amazing weekend. People that I got to meet that you may not have met. I met Brian Wiseman. That was pretty cool. Brian's 1996. Like some people ask me, like, who's Brian Wiseman, right? So like this guy, he's an old school deck, old school player. He is a Magic the Gathering guru, pioneer. He's there's also a hockey player named Brian Wiseman, but that's not the guy we want to talk about. We want to talk about the deck. Brian Wiseman, former pro player from 94 to 99, among the most recognized and respected professionals in Magic the Gathering. He created one of the most known decks called the deck. Uh, and pretty cool, pretty cool to meet Brian. Let's see if I can make this a little bit. Let's see here. Professional play. Ooh, just, just here. There we go. All right. Scroll down. Yeah, this guy, pretty interesting to meet. Uh, was pretty fun. Got to meet Brian, so that was pretty cool. Let's just see here the deck. Let's take a look at the deck here this morning. So, born in '74, professional top 8 finishes. He's got 2, but like let's look here. Pro Tour. This is block constructed back when there was type 1 and type 2. So like they don't. Magic ain't the same anymore. So, little sip of coffee. This is pretty interesting. If you look 1996, 97, Columbus block constructed. Looks like you on 5th. This is where Brian would have pioneered the deck. And he took a Rochester draft, got top 8 in that in 96, 97. Early in Magic, this guy, he's plays a lot of old school now. Let's see if we can find the deck. Here it is here. Let's take a list. The deck. Alright, so the contents of the deck. Counterspell, Mana Drain, Red Elemental Blast. Here we go. Here it is. So we got to meet this guy, the pioneer of the deck, Brian Wiseman. So that was pretty cool. And let's just take a look at the deck. So the deck, this is the deck list here. I'll just bring her over for you folks. For the brain. Yeah, so here's the deck by Brian. 1996, 4 City of Brass, 4 Islands, 1 Library of Alexandria, 3 Plains, 3 Strip Mines, 4 Tundra, 4 Volcanic Islands. Those are land-based, 21 lands. Artifacts include, of course, the Black Lotus, Disrupting Scepter for card distraw, Jomde Tome, the card draw engine, Mirror Universe, Mox Emerald, Mox Jet. Ancestral Recall, 2 counterspells, 4 mana drains. Brian favored the mana drain over the counterspell. Red Elemental Blast, or 2 for disenchants, and 4 Swords to Plowshares. Demonic Tuner, Amnesia, Brain Geyser, Time Twister, Time Walk, Recall, and Regrowth. Control deck. This is like the OG control deck, right? Like, oh. So let's go down just a touch a little more here. Creature base. So you got two Sarah Angels, two Moat. So that deck, that's an important card in the deck. The Moat is, and Sarah Angel for two. So back when Sarah Angel was in her heyday, flying high, and really an important creature in the game of Magic, dominating the sky with vigilance. That's pretty much one of your win cons there. So the deck using the Disrupting Scepter to strip cards from your opponent's hand, replay and loop, replay and loop, replay and loop Sarah Angel and other cards that are not just one-time uses, using regrowth, recall, and the Time Twister, of course. So that was pretty neat. What else we got in here? I saw a picture of DJ Longhair. That there's the DJ and myself just hanging out in the merch, getting ready to hit up the merch line. That's DJ and I in the merch line. Pretty sweet. Brain. I think we lost the brain. That's okay. Let's keep going here. Look, a couple more pictures from Magic 30. Hey, Brody. This guy, once we're done here for the hour, we'll shoot you over to Coffee and Magic over at Nikachu's once we do the MTG Stocks here this morning. And just a little comment. I watched one of his streams the other day. The worst lands in Magic the Gathering, and Sorrow's Path was listed there. I made a comment for him, but here's the thing. Sorrow's Path is on Brody's bottom 10, and it's a beast. It's a house. It's an awesome card. We love it. It makes dinos get enraged, so we'll take a copy of the Sorrow's Path any day of the week. That and Teferi's Isle. So Teferi's Isle is another card that, hey, Johan Matuzzi, hey, how you doing? Brody made it back 28 hours driving there and back to the event, safe and sound through snow, sleet, and everything else. I just want to do a little recap on what I got to see at MTG 30. Hello, Johan. Thanks for joining on the stream. Sorry I missed you yesterday. All is good. All is good. Everything is good. Yeah, I was just gonna show a few photos from the MTG 30 weekend. I got to meet Brian Wiseman. If you have any idea who this fella is, and standing next to me, that's Brian Wiseman. If you can hear me there. And who is Brian Wiseman? You may be asking yourself. So let's just put it up on the screen for you here. Brian Wiseman's a former pro Magic player. I guess he's still a pro, in my opinion. He pioneered the deck. So there was a Magic deck called the deck, and Brian is the one who invented that. It's got copies of Disrupting Scepter, Sarah Angel, Moat, and a lot of blue control cards, including Mana Drain. At work now, glad to hear all is well. Enjoy your day. Let's get it started. Thanks for joining me for the hour with Morning MTG Stocks with Brody. So, we did meet Brian Wiseman, the pioneer of the deck. I was just going through the deck list. The deck is a counterspell deck, control deck. It uses Strip Mine, Swords to Plowshares, Ancestral Recall, Brain Geyser, Amnesia, Yamde Tome, and Sarah Angel for the win. It also uses really. Does this one have Necropotence in it? I'm just trying to see. Oh yeah, it's got Blood Crypt, and it's got a bunch of graveyard recursion spells like Regrowth, Recall, Time Twister, and it looks like a Felden's Cane in there. So I got to meet Brian Wiseman, the pro Magic player, pioneer of the deck. That was pretty cool. I got that. So that's Brian and I. I got to meet DJ. So DJ Longhair was there. I got to hang out with him in the merch lineup. That was pretty cool. We spent about a couple hours together, just kind of like a couple of herd turtles getting to the starting line of the merch lineup. What else do we get to see that I didn't exactly put on the site? Here's a pretty cool picture. This is the beta draft here. Got a couple of packs of beta sitting on the counter. Nikichu and opponent. I'm not sure his name, and the other folks sitting at the tables in the background. There was 4 tables in one of these really side gaming. What would we call it? A side gaming event play area. They were themed, really interesting. Really interesting. I liked it. So DJ Longhair got to meet the Nikachu. He'll be coming up after, once you're done over here, joining me for the hour. But let's get right into it because you're here. You're here for the movers and shakers list. Let's take a look at what is going on in the world of Magic. Need to go. Cheers. Chat box is going up. We're going to keep on going. Let's get this set up just right. All right. The brain. I got to meet Ed Dual Brain. Yes, I did. That was pretty freaking cool. So let's just have a look here. I want to just get the chat going up. Let's just have a look and see what's new in the world of paper Magic. This Tabernacle of at Pendrell Vale. I always call it the Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale, but it's the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. That's seen some price action now. I think it's up 238 bucks according to the charts. It's up 5%. It's moving a little bit. Let's have a look at the Tabby boy, always in paper. So it's kind of been bottoming out on a downward trend. It's been sort of sitting there for some time. The Tabernacle is. It's an expensive card. This is something that you're going to see in like Legacy and old. Not like. Yeah, I run it in Legacy. I do. I run it in Legacy. Eternal Weekend's coming up. They announced that on October 24th, just this month in October. So the Eternal Weekend coming up, that's another event that a lot of people are going to want to check out. But the Tabernacle of Pendrell, yeah, it is a Legacy card. What do they have it listed in here? They have it in Blue Tinker, Blue Tempo, Prison Shops. It's in a Paradoxical deck, Doomsday, Jeskai, Sultai, Multi. There it is. This is the deck that we are playing, Cloud Post. So here's the Legacy deck. This is a deck list for the Tabernacle. It includes it. It's a sideboard card against creature builds, and this one seems to run at main board, so that's okay. One copy of the Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale. So that one's seeing some price action. I think coming into Eternal Weekend, we're going to see price action on a lot of these legacy and old school staples. Like the Eternal Weekend is something I've never attended, but man, would I ever love to go check out an Eternal Weekend. When certain events start to get closer, I think we'll probably see, like playing paper Magic again, I think we'll probably see the cards on the Movers and Shakers Legacy list take a little bit of a bump up in price. So that's where you use it, the Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale. It's $4.5 It's something worth trading into. I am kind of curious to know if we're going to see a change in price due to the fact that there may have been a few of these opened in the new Lost Legends shenanigans. So next up, the Lich reserve list card. I like this card, Lich. Here's a card that we got our hands on. We're pretty lucky to have it. There it is. Yeah, we can show you the Lich. Pretty lucky to have this. This one, this is a card I acquired like not too long ago. It's only within a couple of years. I think I did film opening this one in a package. So this is an unlimited card. This one's pretty decent shape. A Lich, seeing it bump up in price. It's another card that was in the unlimited block that never got reprinted and revised. They just skipped it. They're like, no, Lich is out. So is Raging River. we're not reprinting that card. So that's another card, you know, you seldom see on this list because it's little well known. But the Lich card is a pretty great card for mono black builds. It builds your, like today, like back in the day, for black mana. You're like, this is also playable in old school. As it enters the battlefield, lose life equal to your life total. You don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. So it's kind of a curse. If you would gain life, draw that many cards instead. Whenever you're dealt damage, sack that many non-token permanents. If you can't, you lose the game. When Lich is put into the graveyard, you lose the game. So if your opponents remove this thing, like, it's GG's. You're done. You're gone. It's all over. But if you can protect this original Lich card, this sort of a curse card. If you can protect this, it's gonna gonna draw you a whole bunch of cards. It's on the reserve list. It's seen a little bump up in price. Maybe I don't know why. Is there any decks using it? No, doesn't appear to have any people playing it. What's this? Commander. Okay, Sheoldred the Apocalypse. So Sheoldred, that's a card, right? What's that card even looking at? Sheoldred. That card is $50 for Sheoldred. Like, she's a house. Man. So it's played in Sheoldred. It's also played in another commander build, Merkel, Lord of Bones, and the Lich cards is swinging. It's swinging around 269. So up 13%. I wanted to kind of know, like, I should take a look at that, see what kind of synergy we're getting with the Lich card in that build. Like, oh, with Sheoldred, right? Like, check it out. Whenever you draw a card, your opponent loses 2 life. I think that's how it goes, right? Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2. Okay, so you can't gain life with the Lich card, but whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. So we put that with the Lich. If you would gain life, draw that many cards instead. So you just pick up your whole deck with Sheoldred? What? So you play Sheoldred, and then you play the Lich. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. So then you draw 2 cards, which nets you 4 life, which draws you 4 cards, which nets you 8 life, which draws you 8 cards, which nets you 16 life. Lather, rinse, repeat the process. Wow. Now there's a mechanic that I was not expecting. So that would come to reason why we're going to see a little bit of price action in the Lich card. That seems pretty good. Anybody want to leave me a comment? Is that how it works? And once you pick up your whole deck, I guess you're just going off. Wow. Okay, so Lich, reasonably so, seeing a bump up in price. I like the art on the Lich card too. It's really worth mentioning. Just take a quick look at that, because like there's some look at these. See these pips? Like, you see the black pips in the mana symbol? Like, you see the black pips. Hey, morning Bob, morning Ben Affleck. Glad to have you guys here on the channel. Thanks for tuning in. I'm just doing a little coffee and magic talk recap of MTG 30, and we're doing a little bit of morning MTG Stocks with Brody. We just covered the Tabernacle card, cutting into our coming closer to the Eternal Weekend. We're going to see certain cards like this Tabernacle move in price. It's bumped up 5%. We just moved down to the Lich card, and this is a card that it's like the original curse. So let's just recap this card for you folks today, and where is it built? Where is it being used, and what builds? It enters the battlefield, lose life equal to your life total. So you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. If you would gain life, draw that many cards instead. Whenever you deal damage, sack that many tokens of permanence. If you can't, you lose the game. So, like, if you check this out, where is this being played? With Sheoldred. So people are playing Sheoldred that basically says, whenever you draw a card, gain 2 life, and then you gain 2 life, draw 2 cards off Lich, and then you don't gain the life, you draw 2 cards, and then once you draw more cards, you gain 2 more life for each card, so then you draw 4 cards, and then you gain 8 life, then you draw 8 cards, and so on and so forth. So Necropotence and Shieldred, that is also a pretty crazy combo. It would stand to reason why we would see a little bit of a bump up in price on the Lich card. It's number 2 on the Legacy Movers and Shakers. Sunglasses of Urza, right? So here's the, it's like the bad glasses, right? Like, here's a card, it's up 50%. The Unlimited, also worth mentioning, Lich wasn't reprinted after Unlimited, and it's on the reserve list, so we probably won't see a copy of it, but there's been other hexes or curses printed. Sunglasses of Urza, this is another card that was like the good glasses, right? Back in the day, if you had either the good glasses or the bad glasses, this is the one you could put in your Boros builds, right? With the plateaus. If you didn't have them, you could throw a copy of the sunglasses in your deck. But here's something worth mentioning as an old school player. If you're willing to get into old school, here's a shout out to Manny if you're catching this stream. Manny, I played Manny as a young man at the MTG 30. He was playing a budget old school build. It was Thalids and was white green Thalids with the Urnum Djinns and Armageddon. So you get a 4/5, and then they lose the island, they lose the Forest Walk. So if you're looking to get into some budget old school, this is a way to do it. Include a copy of the sunglasses in your collection. If you can swing it, you can get a 4th edition copy. This one is from 3rd. It's coming in at $30. Oh, the unlimited version is coming in at $85. What's the revised copy? $150. So if you want to stay away from the revised copy, get yourself a $150 copy of the Sunglasses of Urza. It's a great card for old school builds, and it fixes your mana. You may spend white mana as though it were red mana, so that's pretty great. It's fixing. Back in the day, plateaus were a little hard to come by, and if you want to build Boros in old school, like a Nication Lieutenant deck, red-white, I actually have a red-white. You can get into some of the higher end cards like the Wheel of Fortune, but the Sunglasses of Urza is definitely a card that will get you your fixing. Coming in closer to the Eternal Weekend, it could be more new players are looking to get into that old school format, put a deck together, and of course the Sunglasses of Urza fits right in there. Coming in at number 4 this morning on the Movers and Shakers, the winter versions of the Mishra's Factory. They say this is the best one. This one's 500 and something bucks. It's always going to see a tick up. I picked one up for about 300 back in the day. I didn't have a copy of the white one, the snow-covered one, the favorite one, everybody's favorite, Mishra's Factory. But this is another one that makes assembly workers. I want to put up, let's just put something up next to it. I want to take a look at what was the other one that in the new set? It's not Mishra's Factory, it's like it also makes the assembly workers. What was that one? Because I think the two work together. Mishra's... Oh, it's from the new set. Mishra's... Brothers War, Mishra's Foundry. So do these two work together? I wanted to kind of know. Okay, so yeah, Mishra's Foundry. This is probably why Mishra's Factory, assembly worker, 2/2 artifact creature. So you got the factory, and then you've also got the foundry, which also makes assembly workers. It looks like the cost is the same. For 2, it can become a assembly worker. This one comes in assembly. Okay, so it's a little worse. It's 1, but now you can have 8 factories, right? Like you can have 8 copies of these assembly workers, which is Morin folks. Yeah, Richie Dubs. Morning, Richie Dubs, Ben Affleck, Gaming Bob. Happy to have you folks with us today. Let's bring something up because I did want a chance to. Where is that guy? I had some photos here that I didn't get to put on the... What's this one here? Oh, that's DJ. I had some photos of Gaming Bob and I at the event. It was a really good time. There, who's this guy? Let's put this guy up. Had a really another fella I got to play cards with, Diego Carvalho. Some of the old school events, that was really fun. I got to I got to meet some really cool people at the event, including Gaming Bob's, Mr. Gaming Bob. Let's move that over here. Nope, that's not it. The live stream. Morning coffee and magic stocks with your host Brody. Just looking at the workshop assembly workers. Now we can have 8 assembly workers in our. There he is. Now we can have 8 assembly workers in our deck. That's pretty great. Loading ready run. There, that's got to be the. Is it just me? I can barely hear. Let me pull it up, put it up for you. How's that? Richie, is that any better? Can you hear me now, Richie? So yeah, I did get to run into Gaming Bob. Look at that guy now. That's got to be the happiest guy at the tournament right there. All right, so we turned the volume up just a touch for you, Richie. I hope that is a little better. Running down the list, so we can play Mishra's Foundry and Mishra's Factory together in a Merfolk build or a deck that wants to run 8 of the factory. 8 factories. Very cool. Let me know. The volume is a bit low. Let me know if I'm putting her up. I'm putting her up, boys. Let me know when it gets a little too high, because I guess you can always turn it down, right? Not sure if you can bump it up. I did bump it up. I'm bumping it up here. Let's see here. Desktop audio is turned off. Hopefully that's a little better for you guys. I'm just gonna let me get closer to the mic here. Appreciate the feedback, you guys. I'm doing the best that I can to do some more live streaming in the morning. Thanks for joining me for the hour. I'm gonna be on for another little bit here. We're doing morning coffee and stocks. Looks like we got the Tabernacle taking a bump up in price, probably because of the Eternal Weekend and the legacy decks that are going to be built. Lich, another card that's now played with Sheoldred. It pretty much loops itself with Sheoldred and lets you pick up your deck. Sunglasses of Urza. The Mishra's Factory, I did want to compare that to the Mishra's assembly worker, Mishra's Foundry, just to see if they do work together and what the difference is. So the only difference is that the Mishra's Foundry costs 2 to turn into a 2/2, and then the Mishra's Factory, it's 1 to turn into assembly worker. Thunder Spirit. Here's a card for old school. So there's not a lot of cards in the 3 mana 2/2 flying slot, especially with a first strike ability on it. The Thunder Spirit is definitely a card that you're going to see in old school builds, in white builds, red-white builds. This guy, it's a niche card because it's filling that 2/2 flying slot, and there's not a lot of cards in old school that do it. This one's coming in at $192. I just want to see where we're playing it. No deck lists found, so I happen to know that this is where you're going to see this. It is a collectible card. It is on the reserve list. It's $192, and it's worth getting a copy for old school. It's a higher end old school card. It's gonna cost you. Thanks, Gaming Bob. It's gonna cost you a little bit of money to get a copy of the Thunder Spirit into your collection, but it is a niche card. It's got good trade value, so that one's seeing a little bit of a bump up in price. really cool. So let's carry on down the list here this morning and see what we've City in a Bottle. So again, another old school card, and I can't help but think that due to the fact that Eternal Weekend's coming up in December, this card is seeing a lot of price action. It's bumped up a little bit in price. It says 2 mana whenever one or more non-token permanents from Arabian Nights expansion are put onto the battlefield. Their controllers sacrifice them. Players can't play spells or lands with the name originally printed in Arabian Nights expansion. So if you are a budget old school player, or you're just trying to get into old school, you want some sideboard tech for the old school format. $460 gets you a copy of City in a Bottle, and when Jazam de Jin is rampant in the format, it's a card that you can get out on turn 1. You really can. A 5/5 City in a Bottle is something to protect against that. What deck lists do we have it? Okay, Titania's Protector. Looks like there's a commander build that's running City in a Bottle. I don't know why you would in a commander deck. I don't know how prolific the Arabian Nights block is, but what's Titania do? This is from Modern Horizon. When she enters the battlefield, return target land from your graveyard to the battlefield. When a land you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you get a 5/5 elemental. So, it is seen play on this deck list, but I happen to know that the City of Bottle is a little bit of sideboard tech for old school and vintage formats. It's $460, and it's good protection against some big nasties like Jazam de Jin or any of the Efreets that you're going to see swinging through the air in the old school format. So City of a Bottle stands to reason with Eternal Weekend coming up in December that we're going to see some price action. Bro, really wish we all had more time in Vegas. Yeah, no doubt. That was awesome. I had the time of my life. Oh, man. And you know what's funny? Like, yesterday I had to go to work. I had like 3 hours sleep. Yesterday I got to work and like I had an auditor coming in, and we had an auditor coming in, and he's like, "Where were you guys for the last week? Somebody told me you weren't working." And I was like, "Yeah, we were in Vegas for what?" And he told him Magic, and he's like, "I wish you had told me. I could have gone with you because I played Magic since 1993-94, and I quit in 2002." So like, yeah, everybody's like pretty pumped that we got to go. You know what, that was a once in a lifetime experience, and I'm really happy to have shared it with you guys. Man, that was amazing. All right, let's check it out. Let's go down the list. Morning Coffee and MTG Stocks with Brody, checking out the legacy list. We happen to, they call it the legacy list, but we know that's where the old school cards hang out, as well as the vintage cards. That's on the next column over. I suspect when we get to the vintage column, we're going to see just copies of like anti-cards and a few other cards that aren't even played. But let's roll down. Word of Command. Here's another card seeing a little bit of price action from Unlimited, and it's right in the same boat as the Lich card. It wasn't reprinted after Unlimited. It didn't see a reprint and revise, and it's hard to get this card. You get to do something at instant speed. It's $360. But in a discard deck, like an old school deck, if you were playing Hypnotic Specters, Disrupting Specters, and Hymn to Torak, Word of Command is another card that lets you pay 2 black to look at your opponent's hand and choose a card from it. You control that player until Word of Command finishes resolving. The player discards that card if able. While doing so, the player can activate mana abilities only if they're from lands that player controls, and only if mana they produce is spent to activate other mana abilities of lands the player controls to play that card. If the chosen card is cast as a spell, you control the player while the spell is resolving. So not only do you get to get a card out of your opponent's hand with Word of Command, you get to take control of it. This is the original Mindslaver card in black for 2 mana. Like, that's crazy. It lets you, where is it played? In Commander. So I mean, not only in old school, like you could get a copy for the Toshihiro Mizawa deck, but the Word of Command has seen a little bit of bump up in play. It's on the reserve list, and it wasn't reprinted in Revise. Hit me up on the Discord. Yo, bro, to the D, cannot hang, got a job, but I still wishing you all a fine weekend. Peace, love, and happiness to you, Savannah Lion. Thank you for being there with us at MTG 30 in the multiverse. You really made it a lot of fun to have somebody to like reach back and reach out to during the event and share it with. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day from all of us. Morning coffee and Magic Stocks with Brody. Word of Command, another card on the list. A great card. Some really good cards here on the list today. And I see another one on the reserve list. Land Equilibrium from Legends. I'm not even going to look at it because I already know this is a blue card. I love this card. Now, if you want to play land destruction in blue, I mean, can you even do that, Brody? Let's find a way to do it. Land Equilibrium for $300. It says, if an opponent controls at least as much land as you do, and would put a land on the battlefield, that player instead puts that land into the battlefield, then sacrifices a land. So it's like an eternal balance, an enchantment that sits there that says if you haven't got many lands, your opponents can't play anymore. So if you can resolve a land the funny thing about this card is it doesn't say if there's no land in play, it gets destroyed. You can play Mana Vortex. Let's see that. Mana Vortex from the dark. So like, what's a card that works well with this? This was on Brody's bottom 10. So land destruction in blue. Mana Vortex. Each player controls a land, sacrifices a land during the upkeep. At least there are no lands in play, and then Mana Vortex is destroyed. If you don't sacrifice a land when you cast it, Mana Vortex is countered. And then the Land Equilibrium in blue. Another card you can run with this is Balance, and you can also use any land sack outlet that you can find. If you can find a way to put your lands into the bin, your opponents are going to get chopped down at the knees and low on mana. So the Land Equilibrium, a great card on the reserve. $307. So, you know, let's see. Like, are we seeing some trend action? This thing's just like trending down. Decks using it. Child of Alara, Patron of the Moon, and Muzio, Visionary Architect. I want to know what this Patron of the Moon is. It says it's being used in Commander. 7 mana, Patron a la Moon. Okay. A Spirit deck. Moonfolk. So it's played in Moonfolk. Put up to 2 land cards from your hand into play tap. Alright, so if you want to put your lands into play using the Patron of the Moon at instant speed and then somehow pick them back up, so that you can trick your opponents into having to sacrifice lands to Land Equilibrium. It's a lock piece in that Commander build, and it's $300. Another, bringing us down the list, another Arabian Nights card. Here's a card for you, Brain. Oh yeah. This boy, 8 mana, $99. This thing, I mean, I used to play this, not the Arabian Nights version, but you'd play the revised version. It was good in burn decks. If you were back in the day, if you had bolts, we didn't have Lightning Strike. There wasn't one. You had Earthquake, you had Disintegrate, Fireball, Bolt, and then if you had in a red deck, if you were, good luck getting to 8 mana, by the way, but in games that went long and games that grinded and went all night, the Aladdin's Ring is something you could pay mana into and deal 4 damage to any target. 8, tap it. It's expensive. This thing is costly to use, and I don't think anybody's even going to want to build it. Why is it seeing a tick up in price? Strictly probably because it's from the Arabian Nights block, and everybody loves Arabian Nights for collectability. It's not listed in any deck list. Brody can tell you, you could run this in old school. Great art for this card from Dan Frazier. It almost looks like a copy of Magneto on the ring. We like it. And it's coming in at, number 8 on our list this morning, or number 9. The next card on the Movers and Shakers, the Legacy list, is Living Plane. Living Plane is a great card from Legends. It turns all lands into 1/1. So that could be used with the Land Equilibrium card we just saw. It turns all lands into creatures that are 1/1s and still land. So then you can play the Living Plane and you can sack your lands. And if you're playing a format that doesn't allow you to use Zuran Orb, Living Plane can get you there. What decks are using it? Sith Harvest Hand, Yadora Grave Hardener, and Yetmir Nexus of the Rebels. Commander, again. This is played in Commander, is $300 or $400, and I think some of these cards from Legends and the Arabian Nights block at the $300 level that are seldom sought after are going to see a little more price action as we go. Some old nostalgic tech this morning. You betcha, Bob. I got that just for you, buddy. So here's a great card. It's on the reserve list. The Living Plane has seen a bump up in price, and I think maybe people are just taking an interest into some of these cards that were printed in the old school format, and now they're getting revisited in Commander by young players who were coming into the game. Let's run down the Visions list for you folks, and then the end of the hour, this hour, Nikachu is going to be doing his morning coffee and Magic, so I'll probably be running over there to check that out in the next little bit. So let's see if there's anything other than anti-cards on the old school movers and shakers list this morning. Contract from Below. If anyone's got a comment for me, I don't know why we keep seeing this card on the list. It's not playable, but it is collectible. I love burn decks. They're so much fun when I was a youngin'. And antiquities, so much. You bet. I mean, for collectability, like, it's worth it. Like, just getting one. I like just to have it and to, like, enjoy it with your friends, hey? Right? The burn decks with the Aladdin's Ring. That's what you did, right? Where else can you can put your mana? So Contract from Below, it's got to be collectors. It can't see it being used in any decks. Here's the thing. What's an alpha version of this? The alpha version's $1,200 and it's a rare. So here's a tip for any collectors out there. Alpha rares, like, you show me another alpha rare you can get for $1,200. Like, if you go, it looks like there aren't any available, but like you can go on eBay and find one for about $1,400. So can somebody tell me another alpha rare that you can get for under $1,200? Kudzu or Kudza, like that's another card. Like, as a collector, if you wanted to pick up a card for $1,100, an alpha rare, Kudza and Demonic Contract are actually two good pickups, because they're like, regardless of what the card does, regardless of what you can play it or if you can't play it, it is an alpha rare and it's going to see price action for a long time until people catch on and say, I need that for my collection. So the Contract from Below, definitely a card that is worth picking up. The Stone Pony. What's up, Pones? Let's check it out. So next card on the list is Dark Pact. Again, another anti-card. Like, another, you can find an alpha rare. This is just straight, this one's $3,000. Like, ugh. But if you can't, that's like, ugh, so far out of reach. But if you want to pick up a collector's edition, this is another anti-card. You got to remove it from your deck if not playing for anti. And you would get to exchange the top card of the anti-pile for the Dark Pact. It's like it's anti-cycling is really what it is. It costs you 3 black, so you can do it on turn 1 with a Dark Ritual. And that was sort of the circle of 3 that happened back in the day. The Giant Growth, the Lightning Bolt, Ancestral Recall, Healing Salve, and what's the other one? I'm missing one. Dark Ritual, the black one. So that was a card that worked with the Dark Ritual. Demonic Attorney, another card that's not playable, but look, it's a rare. It's a rare. So like the alpha one doesn't have a price on it. So, but you can buy it for $2,000. So you can buy one for $1,600 here. So if you're a heavy duty collector and you want to pick up yourself some alpha rares, these anti cards are probably a good place to start. You're going to be able to hold on to them long term. They're probably going to be a very, very, very slow price creep upwards with these anti cards, even though they're not playable. And if you want to get a minty copy of these, look for the revised copy. They're only $1 or $2, and long term, just the card art on this, cartoony art. That is something I really wanted to ask the panel of judges at Magic 30, or the art panel at Magic 30. Like, when you have artists that make this amazing kind of Daniel Gellin, like this cartoony style art, how do you mix, and Kaya Folio and Phil Folio, how do you mix those types of, does anybody else love those types of artists? I do. I love the cartoony arts, like the Demonic Attorney art, the Contract from Below art, the Mishra's Workshop or the Mishra's Factory art, the Sorceress Queen. Like, how can you not love these arts, right? So that was a question that I really would have liked to ask the art panel at MTG 30. Like, how do you mix an artist like this, Farmstead, Dark Pact? Like, how do the artists that do real to life art get along with an artist that does cartoony art? And like, there is so much interest for this type of art. Just love it. Back on target. Back on target. Let's go down the list, folks. Keep going. Morning stocks, Magic Stocks with Brody here at Alfonso Investments. All right, Jewel Bird, another anti card, kind of an odd one. This card is 1 mana for this Jewel Bird. You can't play it. It's collectible. You can get it's Arabian Nights, uncommon. Draw a card and exchange Jewel Bird for your contribution to the ante. Your contribution goes to your graveyard. Remove this card to your deck if not playing for ante. I don't know why this card keeps getting bought out. Like, it's gotta be somebody likes it. There's likes the art on it, or likes it because it can't be played, or just like, somebody's got their reasons. Demonic Attorney, again, here's the unlimited edition. So for 35 bucks, the Demonic Attorney. See, I told you, like, every day you look at the vintage list, you see a lot of anti cards. So this is I don't know if the algorithm just doesn't know what cards to put in there, but like Amulet of Cause, another anti card, right? Remove this card from your deck if you're not playing from anti. Tap sack. Opponent may ante the top card of their library. If they don't, and you flip a coin. If you win the flip, top player loses the game. If you lose the flip, you lose the game. Activate. So this card from Ice Age, when this thing was printed, we're like, what is that? Like, it had to get banned right away. But like, this is where the R&D was at in the day. Like, they still made crazy cards like this in Ice Age. They didn't, like, they're just overpowered. Like, basically, 6 mana, tap this, sack it, flip a coin. Whoever wins the coin toss is the winner of the game. And like, this is like a dire straits card. Like, if you're in a position where you like, I can't win, like, at least let's boil it down to like flipping a coin and a chance, right? So there you go. Yeah, Dark Ritual. Thanks, Bob. You're 100% right on the circle of 3. Excellent art on that card, and like, it's got this kooky guy with a couple of buck teeth. Like, he's very, very weird looking, almost looks like a clover leaf. So let's keep rolling. Incendiary Dissident. Okay, here's a card I'm not familiar with. It's on the vintage list. Hidden Agenda. It's a conspiracy card. You start this face up. It's 20 cents. I mean, I guess it's probably because it's playable. Start it face down the command zone and secretly choose a card name. You may turn this conspiracy face up and reveal that name. Creatures you control with the chosen name have this creature fire breathing. Okay, doesn't seem very good. I mean, I don't really play a lot of conspiracy cards, but it's 20 cents. It's on the list. Incendiary Dissident from Conspiracy. Really, I would have loved to have drafted the Conspiracy. Chaos Orb, and this is another card, like the beta version, so expensive, right? And like, if you're playing at the old school table and you're playing at the vintage table, like, Brody got to play at the old school table last weekend. It was awesome. Super Backer. Hey, good morning, Dual Brain. MTG sent me. I just watching this video and he mentioned you. Hey, thanks, bro. I appreciate you have you here, Michael Super Backer. We're having a cup of coffee, doing some MTG Stocks in the morning, going down the old school and legacy list to see what cards are moving. If you're just getting here, we're just gonna catch you up. The cards that I saw of most interest were the Lich card, and that's right at the top of the list because it works with Shoal-Dread. So this is like an old school, a little bit of old school and legacy tech. This is like the original Curse card. It's a couple $100, but it's seen play in Commander with Shoal-Dread because it basically picks up your whole library if you can resolve it. And that's pretty interesting. Force Field is on the list, and like, it looks like we had a real hard reset on the entire list since we started. We're running down. We're at Chaos Orb. I thank you guys for joining me. The end of the hour is approaching. Dark Pack and Chaos Orb. So that's pretty great. I'll share with you folks a couple of photos from the MTG weekend. I got to hang with DJ Longhair and some of the boys. I really had a good time doing that. Yeah, so got to hang out with some boys. Oh, the other mention that I did was talking about, I did get to meet Brian Wiseman, the pioneer of the deck. So that was pretty cool. Here's a picture of Brody and Brian. And if you don't know who Brian Wiseman is, Brian was I mentioned it earlier in the stream, so I'll just catch you up. Brian Wiseman was the pioneer of the deck, as seen here on on this website here. Brian Wiseman pioneered the deck. It was the original control deck back in the day in 1996. Brian piloted this deck into some top 8 finishes. This includes the City of Brass, Library of Alexandria, to draw extra cards, Mana Drain, the 4 of, couple copies of Sarah Angel, and Moat. So this card, I think, because it's just this. There was a period in Magic when if you weren't playing the deck, like you were losing. So I did get to meet some great people at Magic 30. That's pretty cool. So I'm gonna head off for the day. I hope you guys enjoy your day. Dual Brain, Johan Matuzzi. Glad to have you over here checking out the channel. Ben Affleck, Gaming Bob, Richie Dubs, Savannah Lion, Stone Pony, Coach. Off the subject, but I was thinking of how they added 10 duels to the